Hello, Captain. I've come to give you the normal quarterly report, what we normally have for our inventory right now, being me, the Quartermaster, and you, of course, being the Captain. I came to give you the reports we currently have going on right now. So, as it stands right now, we currently have in inventory at the base we have 212 Lancers along with 212 bayonets that go along with it. We have 49 long shots, 109 Nashers currently in stock, and because it's training day over at the academy right now, I have 239 MX8 snubs currently, in case they need them. And we currently have a shipment. I was meaning to ask you about this, Captain. 100 Mark II Lancers, apparently also coming with the chainsaw attachment bayonet blades. I don't know what that is, but I'm just here to get the inventory. That's my job. And then in the back, we've also got 2 Centaurs waiting to be deployed in case anyone needs them, and we've got a Raven sitting up on the roof just in case. In case you can't tell, this is a Keegan bit. He used to be a quartermaster at Halvo Bay, so take a moment to understand that. Okay, we're talking about Keegan today. Keegan won the poll, and Keegan. Oh man, Keegan. Okay, I know I say they'll be short, but there's not a lot to talk about Keegan. I mean, the Hive Busters before Keegan, a lot of them have some more convoluted stories to them or more in-depth. Keegan's isn't that much. Yeah, he was Onyx Guard, he was at Azura, he survived the war. That's great and all, but there's not much else after that. I've already went through all the events of the Hive Busters DLC and the Hive Busters comics, because they're all together. There's not much I can say about that I haven't said in 3 other videos already. But I've got Keegan. I can talk about Keegan. He's the leader of Team Scorpio, yet he's the second to last, character discussion, or maybe 3rd or 4th, depending. I have some ideas for 2 others. But he's one of the last. He's the second last in the polls. I gotta do Hana still, and she's the very last one anyone wanted to see. But man, the leader of Team Scorpio to the very, very end of the main trio. Man, talking about Keegan. Okay. Keegan is the leader of Scorpio, like we just discussed, and he is the de facto leader. He has the most experience. He used to be Onyx Guard. Again, the intro to this I just talked about, I'm 3 minutes in, I pretty much covered the basics. And he's the de facto leader because he has, the most experience. They look up to him more. Even him being a colonel, what was he? I think he was a corporal. He was a corporal. I forget the rank that Lonnie had. I think Lonnie might have been a sergeant. Maybe not. I don't think she was a sergeant. But she outranked him, pretty much. He was outranked. But with him being Onyx Guard, rank is kind of just thrown out the window. So he kind of just ends up the de facto leader. Screw rank, screw everything. I'm in charge. I'm Onyx. And that's how the Onyx Guard work. And we'll talk a lot about the Onyx, too, because his backstory is heavily involved with it. I mean, he's still Onyx. He's one of the last 2 remaining at a minimum that we know of. So, yeah, let's just jump into his past and go from there, because that'll be, the longest part of this video. Let's talk about Keegan again. So, by what the wiki says, I don't know if it was ever stated. I've learned there's a lot of holes in the wiki if you haven't seen from the last few videos, but I'll mention it here. His birthplace, it says, was Halvo Bay. And he does get stationed there when he becomes a Gear, because supposedly he was born there, he was raised there. When he finally graduated out of the academy, not the Onyx Guard Academy, we'll get into that, but the basic boot camp, they stationed him at Halvo Bay and placed him as a quartermaster. Now the quartermaster's job in the military, and I very much love quartermaster jobs, in video games and everything with soldiers and all that, pretty much his job was to take care of all the weapons, keep inventory, and he'd be the one you go to when you just had I don't know, I need a long shot and I need a Nasher. I'm being deployed, and he'd be the one, in the video games, it's behind, the plexiglass, and he's writing on the board, just yeah, I can give that to you, I can't issue that, but I can give you this. That's what a quartermaster kind of does. So, he's there, and he's the one that's keeping track of weapons, he's keeping track of all of this stuff, he's the one that has, the ammunitions and everything, it's in his area. Now, obviously, someone can walk in higher rank and say, I'm outranking you, I'm doing this, and he'd be okay. But in video games with knights and everything, the quartermaster is I'm the weapon guy, that's me. So that's pretty much Keegan, which I really like. I like it. And we do get a skin for when he was a quartermaster. And I love the look, honestly. Young Keegan looks awesome. He's got like the afro going on, kind of. Love it to death. So he's stationed there. And this is during pretty much the Pendulum Wars, if I remember right. Like, he was already stationed as a quartermaster. And I believe he stayed quartermaster when the Locust War began. When E-Day happened, he was still there. Like, he's like, oh my god, these people are rising up from the ground. What are we going to do? And what he did was, his job, he took it upon himself, was he's delivering munitions and everything down the riverbanks and everything. Not riverbanks, but like the little canals and everything we see in Judgment. Like, you see the rivers going everywhere? He's traveling under those and delivering ammo and weapons to other places in Helvo that are, you know, fighting locusts. He's the one going around and giving them their guns. If not for him, people wouldn't have ammunition. They'd be low and dying. So he's doing all of that. We get to the events of Judgment, so the attack on Helvo Bay, where Karn comes in, you know, big old Shibboleth taking everyone down, and just like everyone else, he's fighting, he's helping out, delivering ammo still. There's a situation where the Onyx Guard, because the Academy's there, so obviously there's a good amount of Onyx Guard too, the Onyx Guard, some of them come into his barracks, and they're just like, we need somewhere to bunker down, an attack's happening, they're coming here, we have to defend this place. So, Keegan takes it upon himself. Well, I've got guns, weapons, and ammo here. You're safe here. So they go in, and it's kind of assumed, or like, I think it's like implied, Keegan never was the guy to go around firing guns and fighting. He was never that kind of guy. Like, he did it, he was obviously trained to do it, but he was never, again, he's a quartermaster. He's not going out on the front lines. So, they go there, and they're all bunkering down fighting. They get in, and they're just shooting up the place. Keegan is also there on the front lines with the Onyx Guard, firing, taking out locusts. He's doing it with them. And he was so well at his job of doing his quartermasterly duties and fighting with the Onyx Guard, when the attack was over and that battle was won, they looked at him and said, hey, want to be Onyx Guard? Like, why not? Because there's two ways you can become Onyx Guard. So the first way you become Onyx Guard is you can go through the academy, go through your training, you're a little rookie, you know, you're a squatty, I think that's the wrong word, but what are you? You're pretty much like a student. You're learning how to be an Onyx Guard, because the Onyx Guard are the best of the best, so you have to learn to be the best of the best. So you go through and do all of this, just like Sophia, she was a trainee, so she was learning, and once that's done, you graduate and you become a fully fledged Onyx Guard. Now, that's the formal way to do it. That's the way you get in. There's a second way, and this was done with Lo Rivera, were Prescott's bodyguards in the books, and later on they come back with him in 3, and you see them, they're Onyx Guard. They were originally Gears, and they were inducted into Onyx Guard, and the same thing happened to Keegan. An Onyx Guard, apparently, can come and get you. Like, if you're a good soldier, or like you're very good, or you're like above the rest, or they just think you should be one, an Onyx Guard can come and induct you into the Onyx Guard. Now, obviously, I'm guessing other people have to vouch. I'm guessing higher-ups need to say yes. I'm guessing it's not just like, this guy's Onyx Guard now. But they can pretty much like put you in line to be an Onyx Guard, and that's what happened to Keegan. They said, come with us, you're doing good. He went with them, he became Onyx Guard. So, as an Onyx Guard, he took that very seriously. He actually ended up, once Onyx Guard, fighting with the others, and he was with them, and he really enjoyed his life as Onyx Guard. He loved it. Then we have the events of, like, it wasn't that far in, maybe even after 1 AE or something. This is when Prescott started gathering up all the scientists of the world. No, this would have been like around 5 to 10 AE he was doing this. He was gathering up all the scientists in the world, and he was doing it earlier too, I think. Gathering up all the best soldiers he could, gathering up all the heads of government, like everything he could get that could keep the planet running if all of humanity was gone. He gathered all of them and placed them on Azura, and he thought, I need the Onyx Guard here. So what was left of the Onyx Guard, and there wasn't a lot, he gathered up like as many as he could, and he placed them on Azura. And it was stated that there were Onyx Guard that were not transported to Azura. There were still some that were fighting with everyone else, but there weren't a lot. So much so that a lot of the COG thought them as a myth. They didn't think they were like actually out and fighting, or they were all wiped out already. Like after Helvo Bay was attacked, after Rom was leading forces on the surface, honestly, yeah, like we're pretty certain there's no more Onyx Guard. For instance, when Rom is Shadow of Rom, Rom's going around, he fights Onyx Guard. There are still Onyx Guard out on the mainland. A lot of them get wiped out. There is pretty much, at that point, there's none left. All that's left are the ones that are Azura. And you have, like, Keegan is there, Drury, who commands all the Onyx Guard. They're the last ones left. So, and there are more, but those are just, like, the big takeaway names. I guess Rivera and Lowe are also there, but they leave and they get killed. So, they're there, and they consider, a lot of the Onyx on the mainland consider them to be the Onyx exiles. They're the ones that were, like, thrown into Azura. While their brothers are dying and fighting, they get to live in luxury pretty much and just wait out the war. That's how they saw it. And Keegan hated that. He did not want to be there. He wanted to be fighting on the front lines with his brothers. He hated having to sit there and do nothing except deal with the posh and fancy people, the rich, the scientists. He hated doing it. And then finally the Locusts attack, and he's kind of like, finally, some action. But also like, oh shit, everyone's gonna die because this place isn't made to fortify. We're here to defend the last of humanity, like the literal last. We don't have like barracks or anything. This is just like a luxury resort. So he's fighting, and while Drury is helping out Neville, I can get to Neville Estrom, I believe his last name is, while they're trying to keep the schematics safe, because Neville has the backup schematics for the machine that Adam's making, they're fighting through, and they finally bunker down somewhere to like keep their position and keep Neville alive, and it just so happens there are other Onyx Guard there, and Keegan. So their job is to keep the last pocket of the Onyx alive along so that Neville can be safe. And honestly, they do it. End of the war comes and they're alive. So I don't know if they ever stated what happened to Neville. I'm guessing he might still be alive. But Drury made it out alive. He's still alive. Keegan made it out alive. He's still alive. So, and it is assumed and stated that there are other members because it's stated that there were other people there other than Keegan. Just those three. So I'm guessing they made it out. And because the COG is pretty much like gone at this point, it's kind of like, we can't really keep the Onyx Guard going. So a lot of them go into retirement. Keegan goes into retirement. And this is where we finally get, jump all the way to the current timeline. We get the Swarm come back, and Keegan decides to come on back for one more run. When we finally get to the current timeline, again, there's nothing that happens in that. Like, Lonnie and Mac had stuff going on, like, in that brief peace period. Like, Mac was born and, like, you know, he was an outsider. Lonnie was a part of, like, the group that went out and killed the last of the Locusts. Like, we had that. Keegan didn't have anything. Keegan just kind of was, like, in retirement. That's all he was doing. So he was just retired. And you finally get to the point where, like, the Swarm come back, and Hoffman has to go find 3 people that, like, fit his needs for the mission and would be willing to do it. I say willing to do it because that's pretty much Mac. They went to Mac because he was able to drive. He was able to drive transport pretty well, and they just needed a body. Lonnie was there because she was a very trained Gear, and she was trained in, like, covert missions of taking out Locusts, so she probably knows what she's doing. And so he just had to bust her out of prison. And then Keegan, it's like, well, he's Onyx Guard, and he has all the codes we're going to need to get into Sanctum. So we're going to need Keegan. So they went and got Keegan, and Keegan's like, it's an honor. I get to relive the glory of the Onyx Guard. I get to fight in their name. Only to learn later on that really meant Dick Diddley, and they just wanted the codes he knew. That was the only reason he was there. I guess, and like I said, like I already went through all of this stuff, so I guess I'm just going to have to skim over and give a brief look into everything. Again, like if you don't know the story of the comics or the games, I have talked about the comics in detail. Lonnie and Mac, I've talked about all of their stuff. They have theirs. Like, I've talked about all this. So we're just going to start jumping through. So they get brought in, and they're all being sent to the island to see Hoffman on a Condor. And this is where they meet each other. And this is where you get the taste of how Keegan sees other people that are either against the COG or not with the COG. This being Max, since he's an outsider. He doesn't take it too well. He doesn't. He, they kind of don't see eye to eye in the beginning. And honestly, Keegan is kind of a douche to him. Like, Keegan really does start a lot of this, because Keegan kicks him out of a plane. That's literally how they have their first interaction together. Aside from waiting to get delivered, he kicks him out of plane. So they finally land, they finally all regroup when they get down there, and they're fighting together. And again, there's a bit of animosity towards everyone. Lonnie has to play Peacemaker a lot of the time. So they're fighting, they finally get to Hoffman, and you see how he sees, like, the revered and the legendary Gears. Like, I'm sure if he met Marcus, he'd have the same reaction. If he met Baird or Cole, definitely Cole, same reaction. He meets Hoffman. Oh my god, this is Colonel Hoffman! The most legendary, show some respect! Like, he's that kind of character. He gives them the mission. We got to go take this out. And he says, yeah, let's do it. Anything for the COG. Let's go in. So they finally get over to the hive they're going to. And this is where you get a lot of arguing going on. And you also learn why they're all there. He puts his codes in. And again, like, you kind of start to like get a feel of why everyone's here. Again, Lonnie, I guess, is here because she's short, whatever. But everyone's here for a reason. And this is kind of where you start seeing it when they head to Sanctum. Like, you understand, like, something's going on here. And while they're making their way down, this is where you see, like, how dutiful he is to the COG. And again, him and Max start butting heads again. They start fighting again. And this is where they really have their biggest, like, conflict. They're trying to get down to the bottom to deliver the Venom Bomb, the original Venom Bomb, to blow up and kill the Hive. Keegan, I understand. I understand why he has this mindset, but it's also like, Keegan, don't do this. So his plan is, we're going to go down there, we're going to walk all the way down, and we're going to put this bomb in, and we're going to try running out. Because that is our mission. We are going to die doing our mission if we have to. And we're not going to argue this, because this is what we were given as a mission. Mac. Again, I'm kind of on Mac's side with this one. We've gone down 3 levels. We have almost died. It is like 10 more levels down, or 20, I think it was 25 at the bottom or something. We're not going to make it. They're getting harder as we go. We will die here. And we won't have nothing to show for it. And again, they keep arguing. Mac at one point just takes the bomb and throws it down the hole, and they just have to make a run for it. Entire place goes up in magma. Still, the Hive's not destroyed, but, you know, they're trying. Just constant arguing the entire time out. Lonnie is just sitting there like, would you two just shut up at this point? Like, we have a lot more problems. We need to live. We need to go and talk to Hoffman. The Venom Bomb's not killing the big boys. There's a problem here. Just shut up and let's get out of here. So that happens. They finally get back, still arguing to constant hell. They figure out about the Wakatu, or at least like the legend of the Wakatu, and they're going to go talk to the village, see if they can't get some of the venom that comes from the Wakatu and use it in their bombs. Because earlier when they were finally going to go meet Hoffman, they kind of see the acid or the poison or the venom being shot out from it and killing everything. So they go over to the village. And this is where, like, they finally have, like, some common ground. All of them, not just Mac and Keegan. So they go there. And everyone's been taken. Everyone's being pretty much, like, transformed or killed. And Lonnie's taking it hard because these are her people. And Keegan and Mac are kind of out on the same ground of, like, this is why we're here. Like, this will happen to everyone on the planet unless we actually do something about this. Yeah, no point in arguing right now. Let's just kill these bastards. That's pretty much how it goes. So they go out. And they do all this. They learn about the Wakatu. They have to go save Hana at this point. And again, everyone's like, Hana's chill. Hana's cool. None of us don't like Hana. Let's get Hana to safety and get her out of here. So they save Hana. And that's when they finally learn, like, okay, we got to go and get the Wakatu stuff. And they have to escape after they get Hana out of there. And this is where, like, Keegan's mind is kind of destroyed for, like, a good few minutes. They're escaping and they're getting over to TAC, where they can escape and they can get, or TAC, sorry, and they can get back to Hoffman. And this is where it all starts making sense to Keegan. And again, this is blowing his mind because he's a tried and true, like, COG, Onyx Guard, but COG. And, like, he's just like, the mission, we're doing all of this. And this is where Mac and Lonnie comes around pretty quickly on this and tries to, like, get it through his head, like, there is no mission. There is no, like, from the higher-ups to do this. There's none of that. You were sent here because you knew codes. You got in because of your codes. That's how we got into Sanctum in the first place. He's just like, my wiring, my transport, that's why I'm here. Lonnie, you're short. That's pretty much why you're here. So, they're getting it through to his head constantly, like, this is rogue operation, man. Hoffman has nothing to do with the COG right now. And Keegan finally starts to come around at the very end, before they're about to die from the Wakatu. He finally is just like, yeah, there's too many coincidences for this to just be like something weird going on. So they get back to Hoffman, and Keegan is pissed, and his heart is broken, because, like, the legendary Colonel Hoffman's gone off the books. And he's like, What do you mean this was an operation that we didn't have anything to do with the COG? What do you mean we're just going out solo? Where's the backup? And like Max said earlier, we are the backup. Where is anything? Again, this man has been Onyx Guard. He's been a true COG since like he enlisted through his retirement and up till now. He's like, what the hell, man? And Hoffman's like, yeah, this is a rogue mission. Jin didn't want to play ball, so we're kind of all in it solo. And he's like, what the hell? So, again, Matt gives his passionate speech about his family and why he's here, and Keegan's like, yeah, we gotta do this. So, they go through, they're doing the final mission where they go after the Wakatu, and finally they start to come together as like, we're a team, we're a family, we're homies, we're all here to fight them and be together on this. And they're like, I would fight with you, brother. I'd fight for you, brothers. Hey, same for you, Lonnie. Hey, same for you guys. And that's how. And it's just like, finally, teamwork. And guess what happens when the teamwork happens? The dream works. Because they go through, take down the Wakatu. All of them are fine. The Venom Bombs are ready. And then they go back to Sanctum to take the thing down. So they go back to Sanctum. All right. And this is where they actually decide, like, they figure out how to get in there. They're going to get in the main area after they're potted, come out, put the bomb, run. That's the plan. And this is the first time they actually tried this, and this is where the comics are also happening. This is the beginning of the comics. Keegan, again, like, he's become the de facto leader at this point, because they're kind of like, you have the most experience out of any of us, and it's kind of like, you're pretty level-headed, you know what you're doing. Mac will go off the rails, and Lonnie is like, I'm not made to be a leader. That's just not me. So he goes through, he's the leader. They do it. It's successful. The Venom Bombs go off. Everything's dying. They're out of there. They're alive. The suicide mission has become an actual operation. So they get out, and they return to Hoffman. He's like, good job, everybody. I made you all promises when, I enlisted you. I can actually get you guys, like, what I promised you, even though I thought you'd all be dead. He promises Lonnie she can get out of prison. She can return with her original squad. He pretty much promised Mac nothing. Like, he did tell him, like, you can go live your life, do what you want, like, have a normal life. But, Mac was like, I wouldn't mind doing it, but if there's more missions, I'll do it. And he promises Keegan, because I guess Keegan didn't know what happened to the other Onyx Guard, which you think he would stay in touch, because he was under the impression he was the last one. He learns about Drury. No, not Drury. I have a family I know named Drury. Paul Drury is still alive. The commander of the Onyx Guard, he's still alive somewhere. And he says, listen, I still have a lot of connections to the COG. I can get you in touch with him, and you guys can have a meeting. You guys can talk. You guys can have lunch together. It doesn't matter. I can get you over to talk to Dury. Like, he's still here. He's still alive. And it's funny, because you'd think, like, after everything that had happened, Keegan would have, like, kept touch with everybody. Because, again, like, it is implied from Keegan's backstory, it's implied there were other Onyx Guard that were with Dury and Neville. Like, it's not just the three of them. It's implied there were others. So you'd think he would have kept in touch with them. Or maybe he did. Dury went off the books and they didn't know where he was and the other ones are dead and he's the only one left. Maybe. I don't know. But he says, like, yeah, I can get you in touch with them. That's fine. And then Mac decides, like, I'm going to do the next mission. We'll find some other people to replace you guys. And they say, no, we're coming with. So they go through. They're doing the mission. They go over to Croya. Yeah, Croya, and that's Breville. They go to Croya, and that's where they see Mac's statue, and they're like, holy shit, it's Mac. Again, I've covered all of this so many times at this point, but they're like, holy shit, it's Mac. And they finally get over to Breville. On the way to Breville, though, I should say, there is something that happens. There is something that happens before Breville. On the way to Breville, this is like the mini road trip part of the story. They come across this old house with the old transportation vehicle, old reliable that Mac used to drive. And this is where, again, they don't really butt heads, but it's one of those things where it's like you can tell they're two different personalities working together. Mac says, I can handle the truck, I'll get it working, you guys do whatever, I'm fine, I got it. And Keegan gives him the warning of just like, hey, you need to be careful out here. Like, you need to take this part seriously. Like, you're about to be solo, pretty much, fixing this thing. Like, we're going to be watching from the house, but, like, you need to take this serious. And Mac is like, I understand, Keegan. I can take care of this. It's fine. I've got it. And, they go back up and he has a talk with Lonnie. And the talk he has with Lonnie is all about, like, why doesn't he take things serious? Does he understand what's going on? He just has a carefree lifestyle. Like, isn't he afraid he'll just gonna die? And, you know, Lonnie talks to him about it. And it's funny, because I never talked about this point that in-depth, even in Lonnie's video. But, you know, like, he tells Keegan, like, a lot of people handle, like, you know, what's happening to them in different ways. She says just, like, he's handling it by pretty much being a sarcastic ass and just, like, going along with life and just, like, you know, just, like, taking it not seriously. That's how he's coping with it. That's how he's doing it. And I think Keegan asked Lonnie, if I remember right, he said, like, well, how do you deal with it? How do you handle it? And at that point, like, she tips her the bottle because they're drinking some beer that they find in the fridge. She tips her bottle. So it's implied Lonnie, like, I don't think she has a drinking problem, but she drinks to handle, like, that's how she copes with alcohol. So I guess a drinking problem, but she's not an alcoholic, I don't believe. It's kind of just like she drinks, and Mac just kind of, like, throws everything to the wayside and just acts like he doesn't care. Keegan understands, like, okay, he is taking this pretty hard, because over in Croya, he sees the dead bodies in the river, the skeletons that are left, and he's like, okay, he is taking this hard. He is taking this kind of bad. All right, like, I get it. Like, he's not doing this to be an ass. It's just how he copes. So they finally finish the truck. The swarm attack, and at this point, they're kind of like, we need to get out of here. They jump into the truck, and they get out of there. The thing gets demolished. Mac pretty much gets a concussion. Well, they make it out unscathed. And this is where they meet the flock. I've already talked about what happens with that in the comic series. It just keeps coming back. They get out of there, and they start to move on. They're going to make their way to the Brevel. They come across the fighting site, or the battle where they originally saw Mac's visions when he was in the pod, because they're all connected in there, and they see, like, what he's been dreaming of in the battle that took place there. And Keegan kind of understands, like, okay, this is where, like, the shit that, like, really made Mac not care about a lot of things happened. This is, like, where it began. And I loved it. I skipped over it because it doesn't play a major role for Keegan, but when Keegan's in the world, like, the dream world of Lonnie, Mac, I guess he could be in Lonnie's too, but they're in Mac's dream, it's funny because, like, they're dressed up in, like, outsider outfits, and if I remember right, Keegan's got, like, some badass overalls he's rocking while he's fighting because they're dressed up like they're in the dream. I thought that was kick-ass. I loved it so much. They decide, like, okay, like, you know, he says, like, this is where the battle happened. They leave. They get to Brevel, and they come across Mac's hometown, and on the way they're also talking. They're talking outside the house of, like, you know, Onyx Guard, I was at Azura, and all that. Even though, like, he did tell them a lot of that in the DLC. But, again, the comic series takes place after the DLC, but the DLC came out after the comic series. So, what you gonna do? A lot of things, not retcon, but are just repeated. They give Mac time. They get over there, and they make their way to the bunker that's there, and they start making their way down to lay out the bomb. You know, they got to get caught first and then go down. But, again, like, they get down there, they meet the warden, you know, he gets his chest caved in, and I've been looking at it too. Maybe he didn't get his chest caved in, but maybe he had broken ribs. It could have been one or the other. I'm thinking caved in, because that just sounds, for Keegan, I don't know, it just makes it sound funnier to me. I love it. But they get down there, and they make it out, they're fine, and we make it to the end of the story, and you see that, you know, Keegan's fine. Lonnie's probably doing the best out of any of them, because she almost got her neck, like, she almost got her head ripped off from her neck. But, like, you know, everyone's doing fine. He's probably bandaged up under his shirt. You know, Mac took the most damage out of all of them. He's got to be up in a cast. But, you know, at the end they're fine, and they decide they're going to keep doing missions together. So Team Scorpio is still going strong, baby! Whew, okay, didn't think that would actually be a long video. I did not think that it would be a lot more Keegan stuff, but I figured I never talked about what happened in the house with him and Lonnie when they talked about Mac. His backstory is kind of, like, intricate if you think about it, because there's a lot of things he did. It's just offhandedly mentioned, but the fact that he was at Halvo Bay doing things, oh my god. You know, even though people aren't a big fan of Judgment, it's like, he was still there doing things. You know, other soldiers were in Halvo Bay than just Kilo. And Omega, Marcus and Dom were also there. So, yeah, I mean, trivia-wise, I don't know. He had a helmet. He didn't just go in without a helmet. He had an Onyx Guard helmet. He looks great with his mustache. He's got a great mustache. I love it. He's not really my favorite. He's probably my least favorite of the trio, but I don't hate him. Like, I love all three of them. There's not a lot going for me for him. I've never been a fan of the prim and posh soldier type, you know? That's probably why I don't like Kim either. So, yeah, that'll do it. The three main Hive Busters are done. I guess Oh yeah, what's he doing right now? Because after the comic series, what's he doing? He is probably also still doing Scorpio, just like the other two. I don't see him dying. He could die, but it's like more of like, I'm the leader, I'll stay behind kind of thing. But I just don't see it. I could see Mac making the biggest sacrifice out of all of them to be with Dylan again. But, you know, like, he's probably going to keep going. Probably a cameo in 6. I hope there's a cameo in 6. You can't just make the Hivebusters story, give them a comic, a DLC, and an entire mode in the game based on them, and just not bring them up in 6. I'm hoping to God they will be in 6. They should be. If they are not, it is the biggest injustice this team has ever done, the Coalition. Because, honestly, the DLC is better than Gears 5. In my opinion, it is. And it's only a one-act thing. Anyway, that's going to do it. Video went longer than I thought, but they do every time I say it, so what you going to do? All right, thank you guys for watching. I want to thank everyone for making this possible. Thank the patrons for making this possible. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm not against any of that. I greatly appreciate all of it, you beautiful people, you. And, yeah, that'll do it. See you in the next one. Later.